Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the most amazing podcast studio you have ever seen in your life. If you're tuning in on YouTube, you can see that I might be in a hotel in Wichita, Kansas, of all places, because we are on the VinFast VF8 Road Trip 2023 Eco Trim, just in case you're wondering, which is my company car without a spec. Yes, it was one of the worst reviewed cars. Yes, it also had a crazy lease deal for 3 years. And that's why we have it, because we got to test everything. And why not haze the new girl, right? Nah. Okay, so this is my second road trip in the VinFast. When we first picked it up, road tripped it 800 miles alongside the Model Y Performance. I can't remember what year. I think it was 2019 with Jordan. But now doing a road trip on my own with Rafiki. And I thought I would update you on day one. We traveled about 585 miles. We stopped at 4 different charging stations and have a couple stories to tell. So let's plug in for some details before I hit the hay. This episode is made possible by the support we get from Fort Collins Kia. If you are in the market for any electric Kia, not only do they never add market adjustments, they will deliver your car to you anywhere in the 48 contiguous states for out-of-spec viewers. More information in the link in the show notes. Okay, so I do have Rafiki staring at me from the bed next to me. I guess I'll just show you. Yeah, he's acting all shy, if you can see that, but he had his dinner and he's been a great companion. Just waiting for him to pass his driver's license test. He just can't do it, but he's great moral support. All right. So started on the Mississippi River and went straight to Franklin Energy Charging Station in Little Rock. If you are looking at out-of-spec reviews, you might have seen Franklin's charging spot on a video with Kyle. Kyle stopped in through Little Rock and did a whole tour of the place. I also got a podcast with JT, the owner, and that was really fun. So I drove about 120 miles. So I started with the state of charge of 86, and I'm going to tell you some numbers. I haven't done all the formulas to figure out exactly the accuracy of the guessometer. So if anyone wants to take the numbers and run with them, I think I'm going to do that by the end of this road trip, but right now I'm not going to. I'm a little bit too tired. So what I'm going to do now is tell you some facts and figures about the trip. Okay, so like I said, I started with an 86% state of charge, and it had an estimated range of 229 miles, starting at trip 0 with 0 miles on the odometer for trip B. Okay, like I said, I traveled about 120 miles, and is that right? No, okay, it's like 138 miles, and I showed up, and I had a 28% state of charge. I plugged in, and the odometer at that point was 139 miles, right? I had traveled 139 miles, and I said hi to JT, and then it was time to plug into a charge point charger. So he has 2 charge point chargers that share 125 kilowatts, and he talks about upgrading that. I have a whole podcast coming with him soon on this channel, which is fun. I really liked the place. It's like a mom and pop boutique EV charging spot, and luckily he has diverse hardware, because I tried on ChargePoint and it was not, the handshake was not completing, and the VinFast would just, the V that's supposed to turn green when it's charging was just turn red, and the charge would not happen. So I tried on both charge points. He even recycled the chargers, so to see if it was anything to do with them. No, there seems to be an interoperability issue between VinFast and ChargePoint, at least that hardware, which is not the newest hardware. So I moved over to the FreeWire. Perfect. Worked right away. Got 144 kilowatt peak charge, which I have not seen before on the VinFast. And it sat there for a while, actually. I ended up, because I did the podcast with JT, and also a viewer, Colton, met us as well. And I'll pull this up on the podcast if you can see. So Colton tweeted this photo. We got to meet each other, and he brought his Kona that he has. He also has a Tesla, and he actually plugged in his Kona to the ChargePoint chargers and they worked. So it's definitely between the VinFast and ChargePoint. So that's interesting. I think actually JT had tweeted about it by then. Let's see. JT did reach out to ChargePoint and he got a case opened for the issue we had getting the VinFast on their units. Engineering teams working on it said they'd had sessions without incident before. They're going to reach out to VinFast and work on resolving the issue. We'll keep you posted. So we'll see what happened there. That was kind of interesting. Not sure why they wouldn't connect, but it was fun to see Colton. And we walked around and did I walked around and did a podcast with JT. You know, they have a cafe there, of course, air conditioning and restrooms and Wi-Fi. So you can sit there and charge. It's not too far off the highway, maybe like 3 miles, but I mean, it was really easy to get on and off. And excuse me, Rafiki wanted to say hello, and walked around the place. It was, you could walk your dog around, although the asphalt was hot. But one thing that is awesome about Franklin's charging is that there is a canopy, in fact, a solar canopy, and he has power walls, Tesla power walls that charges up. And that was really nice because I especially saw the contrast between canopy and not canopy when my next stop was a Walmart EA station. And I had to restart the charge or reconnect, disconnect 3 times. And I was really, really hot. And I was getting irritated, and it's really nice when you can have some shade if you're at least going to have to deal with that. At JT's, luckily, just plugged into the free wire, but did have to try to plug into the ChargePoint charger, and I would have been extra hot. I think even my scalp got sunburned today just standing around there. Okay, so I left JT's with 95% state of charge, an estimated range of 253 miles. I traveled 99 miles about, and arrived at the Walmart EA station at 51% state of charge. I charged up to 73% state of charge, and I had an estimated miles range of 197.6. I thought this was going to be enough to get to the next station that was about 160 miles away. I had to slow down after charging at Walmart, but also, at Walmart, I ran into Mike, a Bolt driver, and I can't remember if he said he owned a Bolt previously or a Leaf, but he has done hundreds of thousands of miles in his EVs. It's really cool, coast to coast. I think he's in one of the Carolinas, and he drove out to California, and really loved hearing his story. And I get out of the car, he's like, "Are you that chick from out of Spec?" I was like, "Yeah, I am." And he's like, "Okay," because I don't know anyone else with that car, which is the green VinFast. It was really nice. That was cool to meet him. I stepped into Walmart again, air conditioning, restrooms, not too shabby. And then I carried on my way. I thought I would have enough. I started to see that the range, I thought I had about 30 miles of buffer deteriorate. And I slowed down to about 65 miles an hour for, I think, like 60 miles till the end, because it was not looking good for me. I turned off the AC and rolled down the windows because I basically was hovering between 8 and 10 miles of buffer range, which was not what I was expecting. So I ended up at a Target EA station in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. I'll actually bring up this map in case you're curious so I'm talking about, so I went to the Walmart station, and then I went here to the Target just outside of Tulsa in Broken Arrow, and I showed up there at 2%. Was not expecting to do that. I was definitely a little bit nervous, and I obviously had to slow down. I don't know if I had to turn off the AC, but it was so hot that I was blasting the AC. Maybe I was going too fast. I don't remember. Maybe you all can watch back the Out of Spec motoring video and see. I wonder if I was going too fast. I didn't have a headwind. I checked windy. So not really sure what I did there, but I showed up with way less percentage than I thought. So arrive at Target EA at 2% state of charge. And I was a bit like, okay, I definitely want to have a big buffer to my next one. So I had traveled about 161 miles at that point. And okay, sorry about this being a little bit scattered, but so I drove 158 miles according to the odometer, because I arrived at 396 miles on the odometer. Like I said, at the Target station, EA station. So then I charged up for a while. I took Rafiki on a nice long walk. There was a lot of grass behind the building and stuff. And then I walked through air-conditioned Target, and that was nice. But I was letting it charge. There was no one at this EA station either. until I came back. And then there was a Genesis GV60, which was cool. I don't think I'd seen one of those in the wild yet. And it was this beautiful pink color, really nice. And it was getting an amazing charge as well, like holding steady. I mean, maybe I'm just not very spoiled with the VinFast, but a great charge. Anyway, so before I wanted to go into Target, pet mode. We talk about how some EVs don't have pet mode and the VinFast has pet mode. Well, of course it was glitching out. I put on pet mode, but then if I locked the car, it would just like push air, not air conditioned air. And then, so I was like, wait, what's going on? So I got back in the car and I tried it for myself and I put on pet mode, and then it would just like, it's like when an app on your phone just glitches out and closes. That's what's happening with pet mode right now, which really sucks. So what I could do was leave the car with air conditioning on with him in it, but I couldn't lock it because then that would like turn the car off. So that kind of sucks. Definitely don't like that at this point. I carried on after that, after going into Target and buying things I didn't need and buying things that maybe I'll be so happy that I have in the future. And I went to the Love's Travel Shop. Finally made it into Kansas. So from Oklahoma to Kansas, honestly, driving through Oklahoma and Arkansas is so beautiful. Mountains, rolling hills. One time I turned to my left and I saw this like nuclear power plant tower. And I wish I had seen it in time to get it on camera, but I really didn't. And then I looked and it was Arkansas 1 nuclear. And it was really interesting. So it made me curious about how much of Arkansas's energy is derived from nuclear, but I'm not really sure. Would love to look into that. But really, really beautiful states, and I would love to explore them some more. And then I started getting into Kansas and out of Oklahoma, and things started to spread out like the plains that I know in the West. So becoming familiar with where I'm headed again. Okay, so I arrived to Love's with a 16% state of charge from 88%. I charged up to 88% at Target, which gave me about an estimated miles of 234. And the odometer, once I got to Love's, was 559, which meant that I had driven about 163 miles. So these are all about 160 miles, 163 miles between each other. So give me some advice. What should I be charging to every time based on these numbers? Okay, I got there at 16%, plugged into a Francis Energy Power, just Apple Pay on my phone, and it started charging. Got great charge again. We're getting great speeds, like 140 for a hot minute on the VinFast. It's like this charging station is at a big Love's travel center. It's like in between the highways, you know, and that's a little interesting because and there's a big like information travel center. It's a little bit harder to walk the dog. It was dark, so I had to figure out like where some grass is, but we managed, and charged up to, all I had to do, I know next was drive to Wichita, but here in Wichita, there's not many fast chargers. So again, I wanted a buffer to, no matter what happens tomorrow, that I have enough to hopefully get to Salina, Kansas without having to go and sit at a slower charger. But tomorrow anyways, I'm taking the VinFast to the Wichita VinFast Service Center to get a software update. I'm currently on software 10, and I think 13 should come out soon, but I will at least get software version 12 so that when we're testing it in Colorado, we have the most recent version. Okay, like I said, I finally made it to this Love Travel Shop and charged up to 85% and had an estimated range of 227.1 miles. And then a storm rolled in. Big storm. I could see the lightning in the distance for a while, and then severe thunderstorm warning came in, and I kind of just drove into it and through it. The VinFast did fine, and it was just kind of hard to see for a while with rain and downpour. And it was really cool to watch all the lightning in the clouds. It was very cloudy and it was erupting all over. So it is nice to see a storm, but it is hard to see on the road. The VinFast could see the lines apparently though, so it was keeping those in order. But again, no pet mode, so still losing points for me. I arrived at the hotel at 73% state of charge and 585 miles on the odometer, which means it was just about 30 miles between Love's, about 26 miles between Love's and this hotel. Okay, tomorrow the VinFast Service Center is very close, but generally it was an easy day. Again, I have a very positive attitude about this. It's an EV experience. Sometimes I tell people, like, yeah, and each stop will be about 30 minutes. And they're like, oh my goodness. It's all perspective. This is kind of my job. So I don't mind it. And I think you can smell the roses. Why not go a little bit slower? Of course, it's not perfect. A lot of people are rushing places. So I do understand that. But people were friendly at charging stops. Sometimes I didn't see anyone. Either way, there was always an option to get air conditioning, even though I might have had to walk across a big asphalt parking lot to get into Target or Walmart. But the VinFast is doing well besides these glitches. Otherwise, there weren't really any glitches that were significant besides the pet mode. I do think that's significant when it is so hot that we are absolutely cooking and sweating. So I was really grateful when the sun decided to go down and things decided to get cloudier. On my last podcast episode, people were saying that I need to wash the VinFast. Don't forget about out of spec detailing Colton over there. That's not my job, but luckily it did get a downpour. So maybe you'll be happier when you see it tomorrow or on out of spec motoring when the full road trip is out. But it's time for me to go to bed. That is my update. Tomorrow we'll wake up early and take it to the VinFast Service Center as soon as we possibly can, because they say it might take 3 to 4 hours to get that update. I will get a loaner. One of you suggested that hopefully they could give me a VinFast VF8 with the updated software so I can know kind of what to expect and look out for. I think that was a great idea. I'm not really sure what the service center looks like or what kind of loaners they offer, but it will be interesting to see. If you want me to give, maybe I'll put all these numbers in a comment below and remind me if I haven't, or someone write it down, not asking for favors, but help me. One thing that I noticed also looking for hotels, that the Venn diagram between hotels that allow dogs and hotels with EV charging doesn't exist in Wichita. For me personally, did not find both pet friendly and EV charging hotels. I think that hotels should have at least EV charging, probably all of them. And then if you want to allow dogs, make people pay $30 extra, why not? What do you think? Another amenity. Okay. I will check in with you all tomorrow. Maybe you'll see JT's interview tomorrow as well. I really loved stopping by Franklin Energy. It's quite the distinction between a boutique charging station and then one at a Target parking lot or at a Walmart parking lot or at a Love's Travel shop. It's just quite different. And it actually started to make me think about gas stations, because we really, again, did not base EV charging models and how we were going to put it into this world off of the existing gas station model. And sometimes I wonder why. And some people were so vehemently in the EV charging world, like, no, we're not doing it like gas stations. But I don't remember when gas stations were attended necessarily by attendees that would fill up your tank and make sure that you were all good. But that's kind of how it started too, right? Along with grocery stores. And the first grocery stores, you would have the help. You would hand your list over to them and they would help you. And then they changed into a more self-sufficient model where you could pump your own gas, where you could shop for your own groceries. The first self-serving grocery store, by the way, was Piggly Wiggly. Interesting story if you want to look into that. Okay, back to the point is that at Franklin's charging with JT there, I mean, he works so hard, man. I just wait for the podcast. It's really interesting. But he runs up or walks up to you and he's like, okay, and like checks in with you, make sure you get a charge. And then of course you can go into the cafe. Like, it's a family establishment, but you are given attention when you show up there, as long as someone's there, and they're usually manned, I think normal hours, but I'm sure from morning till evening, JT's thinking about this. And it makes me wonder a little bit more why we didn't do it that way. It makes me maybe wish that we had have done that way. I'm sure there's plenty of reasons we didn't do it that way, but I think it would be helpful, especially when we're introducing such new technology and a new industry and a new way of getting around into our world. Why not have more attendance? Why not have more guidance? Especially because there's more and more conversation about EV etiquette, EV charging etiquette. Okay, charge up to 80% and then get out of there unless, there's no one there. And also, have community, be friendly. If a charger's not working and someone pulls up to it, like wave at them, be like, "Ah, that one doesn't work, but I'm going to get out of here soon." Communicate with people because some people are seeing the community kind of shift at chargers. Luckily today, people were friendly to me and talked to me. And I think we can continue to facilitate that kind of attitude. But imagine how interesting it would have been if there were convenient mom and pop shops running these where you had guidance and attention to detail and all of that for the site hosts. I think that's obviously a difficult model, but would provide the niceties that come with something like Franklin's EV charging. Okay, noodle on that. Let me know what you think. If you want to run those numbers, have at it. Okay, I'll check in with you next time. Thank you so much for plugging in with the Out of Spec podcast. If you want to kind of keep up with things live, I might be tweeting about it at hey_Francie, but who knows? I am driving. So, okay, drive safe, stay charged. Have a great rest of your day. Bye, y'all.